going on, folks? It's overtime down here. Today we're coming to you with another special bow build. Of course, the last one was probably the most special for me because one, it was a PSE and it was for my wife. You know, to her family being who they are, the Quistos of Lone Wolf tree stands and custom gear, and the fact that she never really got into the hunting and the shooting aspect, and for me to be able to get her into that with her first bow, and then she wanted another one, and we got her a new PSE. But today is another one that's pretty exciting for me. This one is for my mentor, the man who helped me get to where I am today. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't know me as Overtime, and that's the one and only Frankie The Answer Edgar. You know, he came by, somebody gave him an older bow. He asked me if I can get it set up for him. I tried my best. It was just so old, it was hard to find the parts to get it all right so he can shoot with it or hunt with it. So I let him shoot my wife's bow, which is the PSE NXT Bandit, and he loved it. He said, bro, I can understand why you're so hooked. If I can get one of these, I would definitely be shooting more. So I made a couple calls to my people over at PSE, and behold, they sent him his own PSE NXT EVO 31. You know, so I shoot the 33 and I love it. They got a 35, which is a little longer. The number is just the axle to axle, you know. So this is 31 inches axle to axle. Mine is 33 axle to axle. This one right here, the Stealth, is a 35 axle to axle that I shot all last season. Again, this year I shortened up just because early season I'm gonna be doing a lot more blind hunting, and with my axle being so long, I was scraping the top of the blind sometimes. So today's episode, what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be setting up Frankie's new PSE. And since Frankie is new, he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any arrows. He doesn't have any rest. He doesn't have a sight. He doesn't have a release. And I took it upon myself, went out and got everything that he would need. And today we're going to go through it all. So right here we got his arrows, the Eastern Access. I think the 400s. I gave him my old Trophy Ridge sight. This isn't the React 5, but it's still a Trophy Ridge, and I killed deer with it. Right here we got the QAD drop away. And then the most important thing he needs is his release. So this is a true fire. I myself, I shoot Cobra, but I know this is a pretty good one that you get for beginners. This is what I got my wife, so I figured this is Frankie's first time shooting. We're gonna start him off with the same thing. And of course, we got the peep sight to go with it all. And then the most important thing he asked for, he told me, said, bro, and this is literally what he said. He said, make sure you give me that thing that you had that I was putting on my nose. And what he meant by that was the Bowmont Archery nose button. Like I said, his first time shooting 20 yards, he had 5 arrows in a group this big. So for his first time shooting at 20 yards, that's awesome. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this rest put on, and then we'll go from there. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get this arrow rest put on here. Pretty simple. I like to mount them flat. A lot of people like go in and out, whatever. I like to mount them flat to the riser. That way I know it's level. You know, I don't have to do all the extra figuring out, is it gonna move when I shoot? Is my shooting up? Am I shooting down? Is it straight? I just put it flat, flush. I know the answer already is yes. So I just finger tighten it with my hand first. All right, then we get to the rest of this later on as we go get to the next spot. But next we're gonna take the star key, my star key, and we're gonna go through, we're gonna check all these screws, make sure everything is tight before we get going too far, and then something rattles loose. We gotta get it balanced. So right now I have it on my bow vise. I got my level on the string. I gotta get this bubble in the middle. So I gotta come back this way. Turn it down a little bit, make sure it's accurate. All right there, we about center. Now I'm gonna figure out where our peep sight gonna go, or where our knocking point is. So I got the level on the arrow. Just move it up and down so I get that in the middle. Right there, that's about level. Still level there. Looks straight to me. We can always make the micro adjustments later on. Now, I need to mark on the string where are we tying the peep strings at. So what I like to do is I just put a little white dab on the string. Right where it's pretty much even at. We're going to actually move it just a little bit more to perfectly center that. I'm going to do one little dot at the bottom. And one at the top. Now, we got that marked. We got the bow balanced. Gonna get over to the bow press, and we're gonna start tying in the serving strings. Alright, now we're about to tie in my serving knocks. What these are going to do is he's going to set for a spot so if when his D loop breaks, eventually, which it will, if he shoots constantly, he doesn't have to go back and do all this measuring and figure out where it's going to go. He's literally just going to tie his D loop on each end of where these serving strings are going to be. These strings won't go anywhere unless he cut his strings or a string snap and he had to get a new set of strings. But if it's just a D loop breaking, no problem. These should stay on there forever. So as always, I make my U shape. One end longer than the other. Fold it up. I'm just gonna go 3 loops around. On the third one, we're gonna come back up through the hole. I'm gonna grab both ends, line it up on that whiteout mark, cinch it tight. Cut the ends off, and we're gonna burn them down. Remember, as always, I always specify, make sure you burn them with the strings up so the flames don't touch your string, your cables, and ruin that. Still got my space. We're good. Next step, put the D loop on. So got the D loop material. Good section, so we got plenty to work with. We're going to fray this up first. We're going to mushroom it before we get started. Usually I'll mushroom after, but it's always more of a challenge. So we're going to get it done now. Come back through on the other side. Same thing, we're going to shroom the end up a little bit. Go ahead and stretch it out. And put the finishing touches on with the D-loop pliers. Make sure we still got my space. Still got a little wiggle room, so it'll be perfect if we go to put nocturnals on. Alright, now we gotta put the drop away into the cables, so when the string goes down, it'll pull it up, and when it's ready to shoot, boom, it'll drop. That's coming up next. Alright, so all we're gonna do now is we're gonna separate this string here, the cable. Just get a nice spot down away from his hand so he won't get tangled up in there. People do these different ways. The QAD come with a little thing that you can just put on the end and pinch it to the string. I was taught to just put it through the string and sandwich it in there when you let it down off the press. And then you just tie a knot and burn the end. Been shooting that way for 3-4 years and have yet to have a problem. So we got that in, put them all back on the cable, on the yokes. Tighten that up. Now I'm gonna go back and put his peep sight in while we're here as well. Get the string just a little loose. This here is just a string separator, let you know where the true center is. And just like I did the QAD, we're just gonna let the string sandwich it in there for now. Alright, so we come back and tie this in, but first, this is my measurements I use for me and my wife to separate the peep sight from the D-loop. So he was about the same as my wife. When he shot my wife's bow, everything fit perfect. So since he's not here to help me set it up, I'm just gonna go ahead and measure it to what I have for my wife. And it's actually already dead center, so that's good. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and tie this in just like I did. All right, so just like we did the little the knocking point, same thing here. We're just gonna do a few more loops around. So here we did 3 and 2. Here we're going to do 8 and 8. What it's going to do is it's going to keep this peep from sliding around when he's traveling or shooting, or whether he's hunting or just driving around with it. So every time he pulls back, he's going to have his peep lined up where it should be. And again, with this, we can always slide it up or down if it needs to be changed. But this is just to get things started, get them set up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Trying to set a string as the D loop is tight, or the peep is tight in there. Spin my D loop while we can. Cut and burn. Then we're gonna put it back on the vise. Make sure it's all level. And then we'll finish tighten it in later on. So we had to come down a little bit. It was off balance just a smidgen. Right there. It's perfectly center. Move this a little bit. Center. And center. Alright. What we gotta do now is we're gonna put a sight on. We're gonna draw back, get the drop away set up to drop it at this right spot, let the string settle a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and shoot it. Back down here, day 2, to finish this bow like we finished off last time. Everything was level. We got the rest on, we got the knocking point set. Now, gotta put this sight on. So this is just a beginner sight. This is my very first that I got. Again, Frankie's just starting. It's got 3 pins, which is all you need. Now he's going to be shooting at night because you can put a sight light on here, but it doesn't come with it. Only thing about this is I lost the level, the bevel that goes in here somehow on one of my hunts. But this will work just to get him shooting. And if he wants to spend the money on a more expensive sight, once he get more comfortable shooting, we can do that. Get those fingers started. Thing about these new PSEs as well, they got the several different bolt holes for the sight, where you can figure out which one works best for you. With this bow, or with my bow and the bow I set up for my wife, the second one up seems to work best. So I'm gonna do the same thing for Frankie's. If it comes down to it when we sight it in, the rest or the sight is too high or too low, we can always go back and move it. But I'm pretty confident this should work out well, just like it did for my bow, my wife's bow, and my buddy Sean's bow when we set his up. A little too tight. Alright. We got that on. Let's see, I bought this to see where we need to adjust the sight. Alright, so now we got that on. Next step is going to be centering the sight with the string and the level, or the rest. So that, we're just going to eye it up. Put my arrow down. So the simplest way to do that, as they say, when you put your rest or your arrow on, you should be able to look down your string, the arrow, the string, and the rest to run straight. And your sight should be right about the same spot. So I need to move this to my right some. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I need to bring the rest out a smidgen. So we're going to do that. first. Square. Again, this is just where we start at. When we get outside and we shoot, it may be outside. You know, my wife's bow, her sight lines up a smidgen hair left of her arrow and string. You know, I've had bows that lined up that way. Some have been dead center. It all depends. It could be the way you shoot. It could be the mechanics when they set it up. I've seen John Dudley do a video where he said if your bow shoots a little left, you just need to, or right, whatever it is, there's a washer in here, an extra washer on one side. You take it out, you move it on the other, but you gotta take the whole bow apart to do that. But it's kind of unnecessary in my mind. As long as the bow is shooting straight and we put in bullet holes to the paper, we're good. But so right now, this isn't the arrow Frankie would actually use. This is a little heavier arrow. Frankie would shoot those. But for now, just to make sure this bow is shooting. But before we shoot, we need to make sure we can pull it back. We're gonna let the string settle. It's gonna twist the peep a little bit, let it settle to where it should be. And then we're just gonna shoot it to make sure that everything is shooting. The arrow is traveling without hitting the rest, slapping the guard here. We're gonna put the rubber thing on. Again, this isn't the arrow Frankie's gonna be shooting, but we're just gonna use this match grade arrow that I had here, already set up, ready to go, just to make sure everything works. Alright, so now we got everything set up. His peep sight in, the D-loop on. Only thing we got to put on left is this kisser button. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this back a few times. This peep is, of course, is going to twist. It's going to let itself settle. And then we're going to shoot it and make sure everything shoots straight. I had to give it like 2 or 3 pulls back. Let that peep get its own settle. Shoots. One thing when I pull, keep pulling it back like that, it'll let me know where this needs to be for the drop away rest to drop properly without interference, and I can tie that in. Yeah, and as we see the D-loop turn. The peep actually stays straight, which is surprising, but we need to twist this D-loop. But again, that's something very minor. All right, guys, so we got Nick out here. He's simulating Frankie. You know, a beginner. He's closer to Frankie's draw than me, and his bow can go to his draw. So I'm teaching him how to shoot and making sure Frankie's bow is going to function right and be sighted in so when Frankie comes. So same ordeal. Pull back, try to lock your back all the way out, make your body into a T, tip your head forward. There you go. Thumb to underneath your jaw. Bring your thumb down a little bit. Right there. Now dip your nose to the string. A little bit more. Right there. Now when you're ready, pull through. Same exact spot. So that means the sight. That ain't you. That's a good group. Look how tight that group is. So we're going to move his sight a little bit. You get it. That was already a little better. You got your nose to the string faster. You settled in. Draw him back. Thumb to the jawbone. Bring it to your nose and let your hips aim with your hips, not your shoulders, remember? Still touching 11, I'll take it. Shoot those last 3. This time, remember, so you start at a T. So start with your T and aim with your hip. That time you went with your shoulder, then let your hips catch up. Stay at the T and let your hips go down. So don't even worry about looking at the target when you draw. Just look straight forward and then let your hips bring your arrow down. Nose of the string, there you go. Boom, right in the middle of the 2 ones. Next shot, we got 3 right there touching each other. He was shooting for number 11. So with that being said, we got this EVO NXT 31, the Frankie Edgar, The Answer bow. It is set up, ready to go. Frankie is in Vegas this week, fighting Pedro Munoz on Saturday. Let's go out there and get this victory and come home to a brand new bow, brother. What you think, Nick?
Satisfying.
Satisfying.
Very satisfying.
So hopefully one day we get Nick a bow, get him out here shooting. That'll be an episode building him on. Well, there you go, Frankie, people, fans, supporters. The PSE NXT 31. Got the trophy ridge sight, the AE drop away. We're gonna put the nose blade in. Can't do that till Frankie come, and I'm gonna cut his arrows as well. Other than that, everything is set up, ready to go for him to come back with a victory and go out there and get some meat. All right, guys, with that, we're going to sign out as always with love, peace, Afro Grease. Peace.